Uh, okay. Okay, I'll start. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I hope we're okay with sound, a video, and everything. We're recognizing there's some difficulty with the link, but I hope, Ana Lucia, maybe you can keep checking who's coming on. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Right. So, this forum, the Futures of Higher Education, in the Caribbean is preparatory to the Regional Conference on Higher Education, which has been called the CRES Plus 5, CRESMA Cinco in Espanol, to be hosted by ESALC UNESCO and the government of Brazil in Brasilia in March 13th to 15th next year. It is one of the many consultative forums being held to address gaps in critical areas of the Sustainable Development Goals that rely on the education sector, in particular higher education, in order to be attained. Kairós Educación, a global educational association for the social and sustainable transformation of higher education, is hosting this particular consultation with the purpose of incorporating a global vision of higher education from the Caribbean. I believe you're now seeing the translation at the bottom of the screen in Spanish. Very good. Thank you, Patrick. I will introduce you in a bit, our technical expert. The intention of this forum then is to highlight strategic actions that will strengthen the role of higher education institutions in terms of the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. This forum will address three fundamental issues. One, what have been the most significant advances that have been made in higher education in the Caribbean? And in particular, what has been the contribution of the organization or institution which you represent? Two, what do you consider are challenges or pending challenges with respect to the emerging issues on the global education agenda? And what should be the priorities we ought to be attending to, let's say, over the next 5 years? So, my name is Annette Instanali, a member of the executive of Kairós Educación, former Secretary General of UNICA, that's the Association of Caribbean Universities and Research Institutes, and currently chair in Caribbean Studies of the AUF, Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie Caraïbe. This forum will take the form of a conversation around leading questions. Panelists will be mindful of the times allotted, given the desire for audience participation. Attendees are required to use the chat platform for comments, questions, and to indicate their interest in intervening in this discussion. Each intervention by attendees, we beg you, should not exceed 3 minutes. Our rapporteur, Alison, will focus on capturing the strategic actions for the sustainable future of higher education in our Caribbean. I am honored to be accompanied by Dr. Telemaco Talavera, President of Kairós Educación, who continues to provide excellent leadership in the process, and also Dr. Ana Lucia Gasola, former Director of ESALC UNESCO. There she is, smiling as usual, and former rector of Universidad Federal Minas Gerais, imagine that in Portuguese, who will greet you on behalf of the association. I also wish to acknowledge the presence of other members of Kairós Educación. I see there our good friend Roberto Villes, part of the executive as well, and there may be others. And I also see with great happiness that we're getting other participants, my former Vice Chancellor Nigel Harris of the University of the West Indies, and someone who accompanied me closely, Clyde Lawrence, and I'm sure there are others. I see Miriam, I see the panelists, all of them, Miriam, Luz, Dominique, Alison, as I said earlier, and then there's Patrick Atier, who is from EJE in Haiti, He leads the school, École Supérieure d'Haïti, d'Infotronique. And folks, there is also Judith, who you know has been working with us in our programs with Haiti. So I know there have been several forums over these past days, and I think we're getting tired, but I do hope that we can attain our target of today, which is to ensure really the participation of the Caribbean. This is an opportunity. So let us express ourselves, let us share our strategies so that we can have a say in our future. I now ask Ana Lucia, please, your kind words of greetings to everyone here so far.
Thanks, Annette, dear friend and dear colleague. I greet our president, Francisco Telemaco Talavera Tiles. He has asked me to greet you only because I'm a professor of English, or I was a professor of English. So here with my Brazilian American accent, I welcome you to this forum. I present the greetings of Kairós Association, this organization that is composed by educators from all over the world, committed to promote the change of education from within. So all of the discussions on the different themes related to higher education and its relationship to other levels of education is extremely pertinent. And then we welcome the possibility of meeting in Brazil in March, in Brasilia, for the CRES+5 regional meeting of Latin America and the Caribbean. Of course, this is going to be a very important moment in which we are going to do a follow-up from the regional meeting we had in 2018 in Cordoba, Argentina, and this event will allow us to bring to date all of our reflections about higher education, internationalization on a solidary manner, the integration of our region in different propositions related to higher education, science, technology, and innovation. So I thank you all for being here with us, all the lecturers that are going to talk today. Thank you very much for your reflections. And the reason for which Kairós is organizing these webinars on the 12 themes of CRES+5 is a request on the part of the Brazilian government through Professor Rui Opperman, who is a member of Kairós and is the Brazilian coordinator of the conference. He has asked Kairós to present a document on each of the themes. So your task here today is to enlighten us, to promote this profound discussion of this so relevant theme, and of course, to help us later on and participate in the meeting in Brasilia so that we can come with documents and more than documents, with propositions, concrete actions that we'll be able to develop together for the advancement of higher education in Latin America and specifically in the Caribbean. Thank you very much. Please feel welcome, and I return the floor to Annette.
Thank you very much, Ana Lucia. I think it is quite clear of our obligation and our commitment. So the protocols to be followed will be those of all Zoom meetings. If you are not addressing the forum directly, would you please mute your microphone? We're starting with the youth of higher education in the Caribbean, because the youth will be the ones who will head the transformation that we have been talking about, and we need to hear from them directly what they have in mind. So I'd like to introduce Omolora Wilson. She's a 23-year-old UWI student, majors in marketing and minoring in tourism management, important to the Caribbean, as you know, and psychology as well. So she's got all fronts covered. She currently sits on the UWI Mona Guild Council. She has taken on many positions for organizations that cover the advocacy for women's rights, educational rights, body positivity, and youth empowerment. She was the UWI Mona Ambassador for Global Mentorship Initiative and has now entered the field of advocacy for opportunities for higher education within the Caribbean, with focus on diversity with the education syllabus. Guided by the words, "My mind is my greatest influence. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I will." I don't think we could have chosen a better person for this role of representing the student body, the higher education student body in the Caribbean. As you all know, the University of the West Indies is a regional institution. We have physical campuses and virtual campuses pretty much throughout the Caribbean. So, Omolora, I hand over to you. First of all, if I may, let me place your question in context. In many of the preceding forums on higher education, universities have been encouraged to contribute particularly to nurturing the youth generation and the knowledge of skills they need to contribute to the SDGs, such as equality, sustainability, justice, and safeguarding and strengthening the environment. Through education, research, innovation, and community engagement, the youth can play a vital role in shaping a more sustainable and diversified future for the nations. What is required is to foster a lifelong culture characterized by social responsibility and critical thinking in the student population. Omolora, how is your university, the University of the West Indies, doing in this regard? And can you speak for the campuses on the other countries? You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. And good morning, everyone. Well, it's morning where I am. And thank you for this opportunity to just share my insight on higher education and the importance of higher education, not just within the Caribbean region, but the Latin Caribbean, Latin America, and of course, the world. And, you know, since I've started this conversation on higher education, you know, I look at the University of the West Indies because you're right, it's a regional institution. It represents what the Caribbean is. And it's a product of CARICOM and one of the very few products that remains as an institution or body of CARICOM that promotes regional integration. So I wanted to start off with that. And it is no secret that what you have outlined in your question a while ago are genuinely just some of the SDGs or some of the requirements or just the approach or the accomplishment that SDGs aim to, you know, accomplish in the long run for, you know, our SDGs. And in particular, when I look at the university campus, because we are 5 campuses strong. So we have 4 physical campus and 1 virtual campus. There's a campus in the sky. That's what we ought always say. And these are things that we look at in particular. No, as a student at the University of the West Indies, observing the space and speaking with my peers, because I represent the students of the university. And so far we are around 25,000 strong plus tax. So it's 25 plus a little more. But right now I can genuinely and authentically say that we have 25,000 plus strong students. And higher education delves into not just what is taught within the classroom, but the product of the education that is happening within the classroom or the syllabus of the classroom. And when you look at equality, sustainability, justice, and safeguarding and strengthening the environment, is my campus looking at that? Yes, they are. Have they taken steps? Yes, they have. And this is what I have understood so far based on just being a student. I know for us a fact that the university, through initiatives such as community engagement, research and innovation, they have started to instill social responsibility and critical thinking skills within the students of the University of the West Indies across all 5 campuses. And I'll give a perfect example. Mona campus in Jamaica has undertaken research projects that are addressing environmental sustainability within the Jamaican society and the Caribbean by at large, looking at climate change and also taking into consideration education or sustainability within our education. While the St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago emphasizes community outreach programs that are fostering equality and justice. Recently, the University of West Indies has drafted and basically put forward your gender policy within the university space, which is pushed by our equity, diversity, and inclusion department, which basically pushes past or push the focus that education is for all, no matter who you are and what you identify as. That's what university is pushing now. But even when we look at higher education, we think about the curriculum. And I am proud to say that recently, during our FNGPC, which is a board meeting that the university has that determines how the university operates for the academic year. It happens 3 times per year. That's how important it is. We have looked at adopting the universal developmental learning procedures and techniques within our institution, which ensures that our students are getting the best of technology within their education system, a safe and protected space, and also involving technology within the space to ensure that our students are competing at the level of all other top institutions within the world. And I see that happening across the university space because we're a regional institution. So what works for one works for all. And so when you look at having a universal developmental learning technique within our space, when you look at ensuring that our space is safe for all to learn in the space, there's no discrimination. And when you look at the university pulling in technology within our learning spaces, so students are given the opportunity to be innovators on the platform, then yes, I can safely say that through these ways, our institution is moving forward to becoming an epitome of what higher education ought to be. So we're seeing the progress. We have taken on SDGs because recently, I must say, the United Nations had partnered with the University of West Indies to have a youth forum that attacked the SDGs, including climate change. And I know for a fact that they focus a lot on climate change because they believe that Caribbean youth are not challenging this issue that is happening within the Caribbean space, and we are seeing it happening within our space. So yes, I believe that looking at the SDGs and seeing what the university has been doing based on just the UDLs, technology being improving, and just our gender policy facilitating learning for all, we are, in fact, tackling the issues of ensuring that our SDGs are accomplished and that higher education in our institutions are at the best of its ability, definitely.
Thank you so very much. I think you've covered the matter very well, and we're very happy to hear that you're right there, ahead of us and ready. Thank you very so much. And also, you did magnificently. You did not, I think you gave us a minute of your time. And so that is, I tell you, you guys are there to lead us. Excellent. Thank you so much. And I will invite the panelists along the way to include any comment on what you have said as well. That way we don't use up too much of the time. So the next, I hope the Spanish speakers, you are seeing the chat. Patrick is doing his best there. Omalora, he has a problem with you. You are racing, but that's what youth do, right? But we got it all. He did get it all. And you're so enthusiastic. What more can we ask for? Except that you lead everyone else behind you. All right, so next, I will invite Luce Longsworth, Dr. Luce. I say Luce because she's such a dear friend. Dr. Luce Longsworth and Dr. Miriam Moise, who will come after her, and each will have 5 minutes. Miriam is also a member of Kairós, and as you can see, she is here on behalf of the Association of Universities Caribbean in that capacity as well. So let me say a little bit about Luce. These folks have such extensive CVs, and I hope that what I've extracted do them justice. Probably not, but because they're my friends, they'll allow me. Yes. Luz served as principal and pro-vice chancellor of the UWI Open Campus. She is now corporate director for Santos Corporate University, where she oversees training and development of about 18,000 team members. So that's a good mix there. She holds a doctorate in business administration and higher education management from the University of Bath, in the UK. Her research and practice, which is what is critical, focus on virtual leadership in higher education, leadership development, women in leadership, and organizational transformation and change. She is a founding member of the Commonwealth Wise Women Initiative and is involved in mentoring young women across the Commonwealth. She's keenly community oriented and has also worked with at-risk youths in Western Jamaica, Belize, Barbados, and the British Virgin Islands. She has served on the boards of several regional, international, and community-based organizations. As you will understand why we have Luz here. I don't think we could have done any better. She crosses all the borders. Thank you, Luz. Please go ahead. Your question, Luz, forgive me, and for Miriam, whom I will introduce later, what are your recommendations for higher education governing bodies and administrators regarding collaborative measures to strengthen and transform education systems in the Caribbean? Go ahead. Thank you, Luz.
Thank you so much, Annette, and good morning to all on the call. This is a very important perspective of strengthening collaboration, because I would say that we've done quite a lot in the last decade or two. Miriam is definitely an example of what has happened in strengthening the collaboration through Universities Caribbean. We've done a lot at the regional level, and I think there is more that we can do to collaborate with our colleagues in the Global South, but certainly there have been a lot of efforts. And my background is, as you know, Annette, from the University of the West Indies. One of the hats I wore as well was as Pro-Vice Chancellor for Global Affairs. And one element of that strategy was creating partnerships and networks across the world in each continent. So the university had partnerships with other universities in Africa, in Asia, in North America, and those partnerships have developed into research and teaching centers and programs. So I think there is a strong move already. Where I feel that we are now in a little bit of a lacuna is that we have a changing workforce, a changing environment. And I told you that I am now looking at learning and development from the corporate perspective. And we're seeing a greater demand from our countries for persons with not just higher education, but with skills in terms of really achieving a lot of the SDGs. And that is where I think the higher education system and the other elements of the tertiary system could move into greater collaboration across the region. So I'm speaking about collaboration at the community college level, collaboration at the technical and vocational level, in order to ensure more seamless integration of our systems. The Caribbean is not, without its challenges with resources. And one of the concerns that I personally have had for almost my entire career in higher education is the fact that our systems are not seamlessly integrated enough, so that many times students are actually repeating things. They may go to community college, then they go into the university, and they're repeating courses because we have not communicated, we have not collaborated, we have not created mobility even within our countries itself. From the perspective of the corporate world that I am now in, this is a major issue for them as they look at hiring persons with the education, but also with the skill sets to be able to move their organizations, into very strong positions. And one of the things that is a threat perhaps for higher education is the sense that higher education is still not collaborating enough with industry. And that's another area of collaboration that I think our higher education systems need to link into much closer collaboration with industry and government, with the triple helix perspective, but no, it's the quadruple helix if you take in the society. So there are lots of areas, opportunities for us to collaborate, to integrate, and to make the education system a lot more robust and agile to the changes in the global environment.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Luz. Wonderful presentation. I'm sure there'll be comments after. I will introduce Dr. Moise, Miriam, but I want to put Dominique, well, I'm just saying he's rejecting. I was going to ask him to comment as well and tell us what he has about Haiti, but he has other functions in the panel coming up shortly. So, Miriam, Dr. Miriam Moise is the Secretary General of Universities Caribbean, the Consortium of Caribbean Universities and Research Institutions. She is a permanent researcher at the Laboratoire Caribéen de Sciences Sociales, Université des Antilles, and is currently engaged in various research activities, including the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, Connected Worlds, the Caribbean Origin of Modern World. Her research fields include gender studies, cultural studies, eco-criticism and trauma studies, with a special focus on literary and aesthetic productions by Caribbean women. Her research has been funded by several visiting research fellowships in Europe and the USA. She has published widely, and her last edited collection entitled Border, Transgression and Reconfiguration of Caribbean Spaces was published by Palgrave Macmillan in 2020. So, Miriam, we will extend the question that Luz, or the area that Luz just dealt with. And in your case, I would wish that you speak about the role that networks can play or associations can play in this regard of collaborative measures to strengthen and transform education systems. Over to you, Miriam. 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to take this opportunity to greet the members of Kairós. In fact, Universities Caribbean is a network, is the consortium of Caribbean universities, but also a member of other networks like Kairós, like Udual-C, and in fact, the C has been added very recently. So I always like to mention this, that we are also members of different networks and participating in different collaborative projects. And the collaboration is actually at the heart of the transformation that we are mentioning. And I wanted just to finish my greetings, just to say, just to greet, of course, Dr. Luz. Been collaborating with her at the UE, and also Omorora. I wanted to just say how much I'm very happy to hear her talk today, because I usually see her only on the graduation on TV when she opens the graduation ceremony. So I'm very happy to hear your talk and your perspectives. I think it's important to open the seminar with the youth. Thank you very much, Annette, for organizing and making this happen. So I'm very much involved, as you know, in Caribbean universities cooperation within the Caribbean, but academic cooperation and transformation for us at Universities Caribbean, the consortium of universities of the region, which is translingual, because in fact our universities are both based in the Anglophone, Francophone, Hispanophone, and as well as the Dutch-speaking Caribbean. Our consortium is based on a project of transforming higher education through giving the role, like allowing universities to play their full role in regional development, in finding solutions. And our concept, One Caribbean Solutions, which has been implemented by the Vice Chancellor, Sir Beckles, the president of the consortium, is very much a concept that links research to solutions. So it's always solution-based research and initiatives. So we see transformation as definitely linked to the innovation diplomacy that we are developing, which is a diplomacy allowing universities to connect to industry, to connect to governments, to connect to the community, and of course, to connect to society in general, to allow funding, to allow project capacity building. And it's a strategy that we have started to implement with our new name and new branded 3 years ago. And in fact, we have defined a number of specific areas to build our strategies on. And these areas allow us also to center the Caribbean, because what we want to do is to demonstrate also that Caribbean universities, Caribbean higher education is actually central. It's a central, we need to join our forces within our region. And I'm talking from the French Caribbean here in Martinique at the Université des Antilles, based in Martinique and Guadeloupe. In fact, we are one of the few European universities in the region, but we want to boost collaboration within the region with our Caribbean partners. So centering the Caribbean means really building a vision of the university as actually innovative and productive within the region and within the different collaborative projects that we are building. I will give a few examples. I just want to mention that transformation also occurs through the necessity to connect internationalization and professionalization, because the employability of our youth is fundamental. And we want to, for example, and I will give an example because I just discussed just now with the president of COSTAT, who is now in Martinique, the College of Science, Technology, Applied Arts of Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, internships, like our programs here at Université des Antilles, we have programs where professional internships are actually built into the programs. So, and we are developing an Erasmus capacity building program with different possibilities for internships and with relationships with the chambers of commerce of the region, of the Caribbean region. And in fact, he was telling me that this is something that he would like to take this opportunity to build connections through the internships. So connecting employability and internationalization. So giving our youth possibilities to foresee their development, their professional development. This is what the universities should serve, giving opportunities. So we need funding and we need capacity building for our youth. I will probably specify more with the other questions regarding sustainable development goals and our priorities, but I believe I should stop there because, you know, I know academics are not the best at timing themselves, but I'm sure I've spoken more than 5 minutes.
You have indeed, but it was worth it. Thank you very much. I just wanted to reach out to Alison, our rapporteur. Alison, are you doing okay?
Doing well and enjoying the discussion.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. You look bright still. We're not boring you too much. No, it's on the contrary. It's very exciting, isn't it? All this new information for some of us. I think it is excellent. So for the next question, the only person additional that I need to introduce at this point is Dr. Dominique Boisson from right now he's working with the Université d'État d'Haïti, And we, Kairós, we've had several programs, ongoing programs with that university, with Rector Fritz de Somme at the helm. And we're very happy to have Dominique with us. He is president of the Scientific Council of the State University of Haiti, and a member also of the Scientific Council of the AUF, the Agency for Francophonie. His PhD is in structural geology from the Pierre and Marie Curie University in Paris. As a geologist at the Bureau of Mines and Energy, he led the project to update the geological map of Haiti. He's a founding member of the Geosciences Research Unit at the UEH, the Université d'État d'Haïti, which he has directed since 2011. He's currently co-director of the Caribe International Joint Laboratory, working on natural hazards in the Northern Caribbean. And he has been coordinating cooperation between the State University of Haiti and French operating Belgian University since 2015. So thank you for being with us, Dominique. And the question that I will ask you to lead on, and also Luz and Miriam will be included here with comments of 5 minutes each, is to what extent are Caribbean universities providing innovative solutions to the challenges faced by the Caribbean in order for us to achieve the SDGs? Can you give some examples of projects, good practice, etc., taking into account, and here it comes, the limited resources of many of our small island states? We don't have the time perhaps to go into the detail of the diversity of the Caribbean in its fullness, and that is indeed a pity. But the information is very accessible, and I believe that we must encourage that folks acquaint themselves better with the challenges that our region is experiencing in terms, particularly now, climate change, natural hazards, etc. Are Caribbean universities then sufficiently resourceful and strategic in sourcing complementary funding for the purpose? This has to do with financing, which cannot be overlooked in any of these discussions. As a matter of fact, it must be given full priority. So, Dominique, over to you, please.
Thank you, Annette, and thank you very much, all the panelists. And it's a very good pleasure for me to address this forum. And as you say, I'm Haitian, so I'm not very fluent in English. So please forgive my English.
Perfect.
Okay. Indeed, the innovation and the solution in context where we have very limited resources in the universities, and especially in the University of State of Haiti, it's really very limited resources in the university, is a very big challenge, and we have to innovate every time to address the issue we have. Today, I want to share with you an example of innovation, because as you say, I am involved in national hazards in Haiti and in the Caribbean. And as you know, we had in the recent past, two earthquakes, very large earthquake, one in 2010, is 7.0 magnitude, and the other in 2021 is 7.2. So in the same area, the southern part of the island, and it's the last big earthquake we had in Haiti was in the last century, in the 19th century, not the 20th century. So it was very new for the country, and we had to address that as a university. The University of Haiti was not prepared in terms of dealing with a natural hazard, and we start from scratch to address that. So there is a network for earthquake in Haiti, but is a very heavy earthquake network with difficulty to maintain and to operate. Also, in Haiti, we have a very low risk culture, and people has a lack of knowledge on the phenomenon. They do not understand exactly what is this very huge issue that the earthquake can bring. There is also culturally a fatalism, that the people just think that it's God and it's a punishment, and they have just to suffer it and accept it. And we have another aspect that is very new, and it has a conspiracy theory that it's probably the foreign action that gave this kind of phenomenon. And you have also a lack of knowledge of protective measures. So a lot of issue we have of the population, and for the researchers, that was a huge challenge. So what was the problem? The problem was the difficulty in equipping and maintaining the network of seismometers in terms of field access, in internet, electricity, security, the high cost of the equipment. There was also a need to motivate and to involve the community in seismic monitoring. And finally, we find that there was a necessity of establishing a dialogue between the scientists and the community, because we can inform the people, we can bring them the information, but also we can learn from them. We can understand exactly what is the approach they have, or in terms of protection, what kind of measure of spontaneously they will apply. So that was the problem. And to arrive with the solution, we had an approach that was to involve the people in the solution. The innovation solution, the university with his partners was to build a seismo-citizen network. So involve the citizen in the capture of the information, in the transmission of this information, and just to be aware of the result of the information they have captured. The condition to have this was to find citizen volunteers to host seismic session in their homes. So it's not so easy, because the people are sometimes reluctant to include in their home some kind of scientific equipment that they don't understand very well, and we have to convince that. Finally, we have some people that accept to receive the equipment. And the condition for this equipment was to give security to the equipment, safety. The problem was in Haiti was you are going to put a network in the field, you will have people stealing the equipment, even when they not understand exactly what is the purpose of the equipment, they can steal it. Also, to have internet and connection and be self-sufficient in energy. If you have these three conditions, you can be a seismo-citizen. And we use very low cost seismometers, so about $1,000 a station, while for professional station is around $30,000 or to $50,000. Is very expensive, and that's very easy to maintain or replace. It's very cheap equipment. We ensure the installation maintenance of the equipment. We create and animate a community of hosts. That's a kind of WhatsApp but it works. WhatsApp is very popular in the country, so people can share the information. We bring the people to be part of the community, of the citizen community. And also we develop an IT platform to receive and process the data created by the station and make the information public. That's what of innovative solution we had to deal with the problem of the information of the situation, the people in the field, and also this information in the other side is an information that can be shared with all the people, also the researcher. The ITC's network today, we have more than 30 stations hosted by CISMO citizens throughout the country. The ITC's platform include also other station from the Caribbean, like two from Jamaica. We have 8 from the Dominican Republic, 4 from Cuba, and 2 from Puerto Rico. So that's the and finally we can say that this network has accomplishment. The network has made possible the record of the August 2020 earthquake and track the aftershocks. We have several publications, thesis in progress, based on this network, and several master works and researchers using the data, and the Bureau of Mines and Energy publishing the data from ITCism in the bulletin. So it is an example I give you. I cannot go. I will be happy to discuss later on other aspect. But what's exactly the kind of innovative solution we have in the university to involve the people is in either the problem of the low resource the university have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominique, for bringing to our attention this very critical issue. You would know that, well, all over, but in Jamaica recently, we have been experiencing earthquakes, 5.2, I think, just 2 days ago, I think 4.2. And when that happens with such frequency, we get terribly scared. So we cannot ever imagine what Haiti went through and is going through. So this definitely is an area that requires all our attention and efforts for solution.
If you allow me, just will want to share one slide about this particular earthquake, showing the reception of the earthquake by the network.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead. While you're setting up, I'll put on alert Luz and Miriam. I think you've already mentioned some of these solutions, but if you could again put them in context. I will invite Luz first, after the slide, and then Miriam, please.
Okay.
I see. Okay. This is very graphic.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a graphic from the network, the ITCism website. Thank you.
Right. Wow. I tell you, we have to collaborate on all of these issues. Thank you so much for sharing, Dominique, and you'll be coming back on in very shortly. So, Luz, may I invite you?
Yes,
Yes.
Just to say, thank you to Dominique, because basically my sharing is exactly graphically demonstrated in that slide, Dominique, which is that, the universities have to collaborate in order to provide regional solutions, because on our own, we do not have the resources. But here is something that you have, Dominique, that is something that can be tied into our own University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center. And so that collaboration can benefit millions of people around the region. So in terms of a framework, it has to be in collaboration in terms of innovation and pooling resources. In terms of examples of projects that we've seen happen, what I'd want to say is that one of the things that the University of the West Indies has tried to do quite effectively is to institutionalize projects. So we tend to get funding for projects, but when the funding runs out, then there is no continuity, no sustainability. And I was very pleased to be involved in my time with setting up several institutions that would focus on key areas. So, for example, the UE has been appointed lead in SDG 13 for the Commonwealth Association of Universities. And SDG 13, which is climate action and advocacy, is one that we have taken a lead on because of how much it affects us. While I was principal, one of the most challenging times of my career was having to deal with the devastation of Hurricane Maria in Dominica and across the region. It was an extraordinary event. And that led us to setting up research and projects. But I'm happy to see that that has now changed into the development of a center, which is the Global Institute for Climate Smart and Resilient Development, so that we can again pool resources and pool innovation and research from our partners across the world. Another area that is now moving forward is really related more to SDG 16, which is peace and justice. And happy that the university is in the process through its global campus, what was the open campus, in developing an international school for development justice. And that is perhaps the first of its kind in the region, which will totally focus on the SDGs and the areas for sustainability and development. So I think what is a best practice has to be ensuring that our projects can be institutionalized so that they have continuity, that they have deeper effects on our region, our countries, and our institutions.
Very good, Luz. I'm a little depressed to hear that we're still there. You know, UWI has a fantastic history of collaboration on these types of projects, and you're quite right. Money runs out, projects just fall by the wayside. We're gonna have to change that culture. I am glad we have strong people like you girls at the helm, and of course the guy Dominique and others. Right. Judith, I know you might be looking at the Spanish translation in chat, and I hope it's working well for you. I don't know who else is using that, but Patrick is doing a marvelous job. Thank you, Patrick. Now, moving on, Miriam, can you add a few words to this discussion?
Yes, I will try and be brief because of course I totally agree with what Dr. Luz, what has been said before me. I just want to mention that, in fact, in terms of I want to be very pragmatic and mention a few projects that are linked to the SDGs. I believe that in terms of funding, the strength of Universities Caribbean is to allow universities of the region to connect and use funding that are available. I mean, like European funding in particular, this is substantial funding that we can use also to serve regional development. So we can now do South-South-North collaboration, that is to say collaboration serving the Caribbean region, but also connecting with universities from Europe, and in that way I want to mention the Horizon Europe program that allows, for example, universities from the Caribbean region to connect with European universities. And this is, for example, the Connect Caribbean project that you have mentioned. And in fact, we carry some of these a part of this project here at Université des Antilles. I also want to mention the Saga Care project, which is responding to the topic of sargassum seaweed, invasion of sargassum seaweed, which is a regional issue as well, and which is connected to SDG 13. This is also very much important to connect in the One Health perspective, to connect the environment and health in the Caribbean region. And to finish, the last but not the least, I want to say that the SDG number 5 is one which is very dear to me, based on my own specialty as a gender studies specialist, and that in the CRESS plus 5, in fact, I coordinate the group number 9 on the role of women in higher education. I believe that it's also very important for us to build capacity for women's leadership in the Caribbean, because Caribbean women are the most graduated. When you look at the figures in terms of graduation, we graduate a lot more than men, but when we get to the executive level, we are not there. So which means that we need to build capacity in terms of leadership for Caribbean women, and this is the role of women in higher education also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that the last subject you touched on, which is your favorite, I know, corresponds to the entire Caribbean and so many other countries. And hey, with you folks at the helm of these differences, we will see things happening. So thank you very much. All right, moving on to the next, and this is where we bring in Omolora. Are you there still? I hope so, we need you. Omolora, then Luz, then Dominique. And the question is, and the buzzwords, you know, how are our HEIs, or higher education institutions, managing digital transformation and the application and use of disruptive technologies in higher education in the region? Yes, we let the youth go first. They're leading us in this. Omolora, will you start, please?
Yes, no problem. Thank you so much for that question. Allow me to address it. No, I can use University of the West Indies as a perfect example as to how our higher education institutions are tackling the SDGs. So this is what I do know. When it looks at digital transformation and higher education, we're looking at online learning platforms, the shift between virtual classrooms and distance education, and just using data analytics overall, right? So good so far. Now, our institution on a whole delves into that because we have an entire committee that deals with digital transformation. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that in the online space, we are competing all the other Ivy League universities, so that when we look at digital transformation in education, it is superb. And so two of the things that we're tackling right now is that we're trying to adopt proper online learning platforms. So right now, for the University of West Indies, we have our VLE, which is our virtual learning environment. And that's where students get their information, their notes, and master students get their links to their classes. It's also shown in University of Technology, and I think Edna Manley College and Caribbean Maritime University also have those online learning platforms, and NCU. So what we're trying to do is to engage students that even though you're sitting in the classroom physically, you are still learning in an online space in terms of access to your reading materials. But not only that, we have realized recently that artificial intelligence is now slowly but surely integrating within our curriculum, meaning we have students who are now just simply just copying and pasting in ChatGPT and getting information. And so because of that, we have started to implement programs that are actually battling and tackling those type of things. So what we're trying to do is ensure that through artificial intelligence and augmented reality, we are enhancing the learning experience so that the ChatGPTs and other AIs aren't working against us, but working with us. So we are trying to get students to use materials that they know to get extra information from these artificial intelligence rather than just relying on these AIs to give them full information. And so we're also tackling challenges such as access to technology and connectivity, because the meat of the matter is, I can speak for Jamaica and many parts of the Caribbean, we have not reached a stage in which everywhere you go, data and technology is there. Our Wi-Fi is there at the top of your finger, but we are working towards that. And I can speak for Jamaica, in which our telecommunications companies such as Digicel and Flow have provided educational plans even during COVID, so persons could have afforded data to access their institution materials. And so what we're looking for is to ensure that we have collaborations not just with private entities, but with the government as well, to have a more inclusive and technology-driven institutions in terms of higher education across the region. So if we continue to ensure that technology is accessible to all and that it's included in our learning through our online platforms, I feel like we're very much on our way. So I'm hoping to see it. I'm looking at 2030 vision that we have, and I want to see digital transformation, not just within higher education, but within primary and secondary institutions being at its finest. So right now we're on our way.
Excellent. You said it all. Thank you so very much for being here to give us that information. And I'm sure my colleagues from Kairós, Educación, I think you're saying that the Caribbean is fighting back, and we just have to maximize our strengths by cooperating and collaborating. Great. So, Luz? So,
yes, and this is definitely my pet area. And what Omalora said is joy to my heart, because I've long advocated the expansion of online learning and utilizing technologies in our teaching and learning environment in a more active way. And certainly the Open Campus was the leader in that. So it's so happy that COVID was the thing that made us all realize that we had to do it. And so it's good that people are now really refining those tools. But I would say that one of the things that Omalora spoke about is, how do we utilize the technologies in a very productive way, and of course there is a great deal of discussion around how to utilize AI and to still maintain academic integrity. And I think that we have a lot of work to do around that in higher education institutions. I don't think we've done anything enough to say that we are on top of it, but we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much, because the entire world is still trying to grapple with it. And even the producers of AI are trying to figure out, the ethical implications of the use of AI. However, I would say that I think it is urgent. And I may not be on top of things that are happening currently, since, as I mentioned, I'm more in the corporate world. But I know in the corporate world, it is becoming an urgency in terms of efficiencies. So, for instance, where I work at the Sandals Corporate University, we have started using AI quite extensively in terms of our customer service tools. But also in the corporate university, we are integrating AI, AR, and VR into content development. And what that means is that there are changes in how people are going to be involved in content development. And my own concern here, maybe not 100% relevant, is that our higher education leaders need to move towards educating our professors on how to use the tools, because it's I think there's a quotation that says it's not the AI, a colleague of mine has it on his email, that's going to replace people. It's people who know how to use AI that's going to replace people. And I think that that's where we do have a gap that we need to address. In terms of guidance to governments and so on, again, we have to be the physician to heal ourselves. We need to create our own frameworks for guiding ourselves in higher education. But I'm pleased to see that the University of the West Indies, through its 5 Islands campus, will be hosting a massive, massive conference next year on the use of AI and digital transformation. And there will be governmental panels, and the aim is to help to create a regional policy in this area. So again, the University of the West Indies is leading that. And that's really what the universities need to do, to lead the discussion with the policymakers.
Right. Thank you very much, Luz. Perfect. And I'll ask Dominique if you would have comments. And what we're dealing with is whether our higher education institutions are providing guidance to governments in the governance and management of these technologies. Dominique.
Thank you, Annette. And in fact, I would want to bring another perspective, the perspective of in the Caribbean. And these new technologies are very important, as we have to more and more, and probably we are not aware of what will be the situation in the next 10 years, because we are talking about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, but maybe in 2-3 years it will be over. Will be another part we do not expect, we do not have an idea. So we are building systems that is constant renewal. They are moving for the future, and the future we do not exactly know what it will be. So that's a very huge challenge for all the higher education system. And also for the government and the governments, because there's something that is changing. When you see what occur in the US with the entertainment crisis in Hollywood, that was the problem of so that's very huge problem. But at the same time, we have to be aware that there was two problems. First of all, when we are in higher education, in dealing with this technology, you have to be conscious that there was a generation of teachers that need to be up to date, to understand, and there was a reluctancy to use for the generation of the teachers that are not in the new generation, to use the tools, while the young people, the students, are just working on that. All the people working in education confront the problem that the information is not the exclusivity of the teachers right now. Is something that is a bottom-up system. It's a very revolution. And other problem we have, and especially in country like Haiti, have a online session or working with informatic platform is a challenge, because not all the people have access to the internet, to the energy to move with that. So it's a huge problem, and normally the governance in the country of the Caribbean will have to benefit from the experience of the universities, but it's something that maybe will be very difficult to in country where there's no the sufficient net structures to address the new technologies. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dominique. Yes, indeed, there will be challenges, but in principle, I think universities have that duty to be involved in the conversation and provide guidance in terms of governance and management, because the politicians won't be doing that. You know, we have to be there when we're designing policies. Good. Of course, we have Patrick Atier, who's there busy attending to other matters, because he is the person also, no, to be there with all these new technologies. And I'll give him the opportunity on another occasion. But he and Luz, I know, have been talking at least about possible collaboration with what Luz just mentioned with corporate Jamaica, Sandals. So let's hope something comes out of that. So I'm throwing it out there, Luz. And talking about Haiti, Sandals is not Jamaica. Sandals is regional now, but hopefully that can be a source, for the development of this initiative. So I'm going to speed up now. You've been very good. We've gone 1 hour and a little bit, but I find this fascinating, and I hope you do too. So, question now, with the ongoing unrest in the global north, we're talking internationalization here. The ongoing unrest in the global north impacting also on universities and their internationalization programs. Should Caribbean higher education institutions position themselves to attract international students, staff, and projects, in particular from the global south? Going forward, would you recommend that universities institutionalize an internationalized approach to education? Omolor, I'll take you first. You're the ones who will be the actors in this. So could you go ahead and give us your opinion, please?
Yes, no problem, Miss. No, I have thought, when you said this question, I've been thinking long and hard about it in terms of how we market ourselves as institutions. And again, I always say that no matter what you want to look at, our higher education institutions are competing with higher education institutions. It's a competition across the board. And through getting more students within our space comes for resources, and not just resources, but cultural integration and even a safe haven for education. And I say that because we genuinely have to look at the fact that we are evolving as a community in terms of the world and what we need to see in terms of with what's in the education system. No, you're right. There is a lot of unrest happening in the north, and also there are many opportunities that are needed by the south, but they just don't have access to it rather. And for me in particular, what I look for, I believe that all institutions should look at themselves as an international institution so that they can acquire additional funding and an opportunity to become a cultural mecca and for all. So what it provides is diversity within the educational institution, because you are not only learning about your country or just how to tackle what is happening in terms of the labor demands of your country, but also the labor demands of others. And through becoming an international institution, you foster partnerships with international entities. We talk about what's up in international relations and the importance of international relations as institutions in the world. And I feel as if this is a step that we need to take to see that becoming forthcoming. So for me, yes. Market yourselves as an international institution. Become a mecca and a safe haven for other countries and other regions so that they can invest their funding into our institutions for learning. So for higher educations to grow, you can't just be for your region, you must be for all. You must be a global institution. And I think that's a beautiful step to take. So for me, I am pushing forward this recommendation to all universities to not just be a university for your space, but a university for all. Definitely.
Thank you so much. You hit it right on. I'm seeing we have some visitors here from the UWI. I see Dejean, and also I see Narcisse. Hi, Narcisse Fievre. We know him from his work with the public regional universities in Haiti. So thank you for joining us. And I see Indiria here as well. Great. So Luz, what could you add to this, please?
I'm not sure I can add a whole lot more to what Omalora just said,
Yes.
except maybe to maybe harp on my theme. that I think that with collaboration, we could offer so much more together for international students, in the sense that networks of universities in our region in the Caribbean could come together and market themselves together as, and again, I'm going to probably use something that the Sandals did, and it is pay for one and play at two. In other words, the ability for an international student to move around our region and to have different experiences. So we really need a bit of product development of what we are offering international students. So yes, HEIs have to position themselves, but I believe that we need to develop our product. Laura spoke to that. What are our drawing cards? The cultural elements, of course, the fact that we come from a rich and global culture, so that we can attract students from almost any country, but certainly from the global south, because we have traces and sometimes even more than traces of their own cultures that they can explore. So we know, for example, at University of the West Indies, we've been trying to do this institutionalization of international students for a while, and there has been some great new programs linking students from Africa, West Africa as well, to come and do programs here, China, Latin America, and those programs are working well. But I think that we could do a lot more as a region if we looked at creating a Caribbean university international program, the way they have it perhaps in Europe, where students can go to Paris, they can go to Berlin and so on, move around the region and have different experiences. I feel that would create a lot of excitement. And we speak about global south, but with what's happening in the global north, the students are more reluctant to move into to studies in the north. And so we have an opportunity to pull students from North America and Europe who would normally stick to Europe in particular for their international experience. So it's wide open for opportunity, but we do have to be innovative in how we do it.
Right. I know that currently there's a thrust for the Erasmus program on the European side to diversify and for a Latin American or Caribbean Erasmus program. And I think we should really push for that. I think there's every reason why that should happen, and that would allow our students to engage. And then we can talk about South-South collaboration, which we have been very lagging behind on. And that will come up again when in a question later on, when we're talking about the diversities that we have in our region. But I'm going to shift it a bit, because this climate change is such an enormous issue affecting us all globally. And I'd like Dominique to take this question, please. Would you say that climate change management requires an ambitious mitigation target and action plan? Not the little projects with specific funding, but that the region must develop what would be what we call a mitigation target and action plan. Dominique, please.
Thank you, Annette. Yes, climate change is a really huge issue for the planet, and we are dealing with a problem that are not inside the Caribbean only. Is something that can have the mitigation we are talking about. Is not really the mitigation or the action in the Caribbean, but throughout the world. That means that we are in the small islands of the Caribbean, we are affected by the climate change more than we are affecting the climate change. So the cause of the problem is not really in the island where there is not a lot of industrialization and heavy heavy industries that are influencing the climate change, where we are in a position where we are dealing with the problem and we have to mitigate it. We have to change our habits to have a kind of attenuation. So if we have a plan of action, the action plan cannot be a plan targeting the cause of the climate change more than the effect of the climate change. Indeed, the Caribbean is an area where the tourism is the most important, and we have the problem of acidification of the ocean, the problem of the level of the sea. All these are the common problem for all the Caribbean. We talk about the sargasses. All this is linked with the climate change. So what we can do, first of all, we need to have in a plan an accentuation from the researcher and the university to well understand the predictions and to adapt this prediction to the Caribbean, because all the predictions are for the area are not really targeting small territories. To see the Caribbean as a whole, and that's a field of research. Secondly, we need to have the research on attenuation, what we can do to have the industries adapted to the climate change, and also what can we expect from the future. So what's exactly my thinking about that is that we need first of all to go on the area, and after that see what we can do in attenuation.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Is it a necessity to have a plan from the Caribbean? I do prefer to think that even if we have all the whole Caribbean as a region, we need to adapt the problem from the several type of island. It's not the same situation in country like Cuba and Haiti, and when you go to a small island, that the submersion can be very more important than the big island. Big island are other problem with droughts, with microclimate issues. So we cannot have a plan from the Caribbean only. It's plan to adapt to each part of the Caribbean.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, good, definitely a good point. Definitely a good point. Well, I know governments are very worried all over, so I'm hoping that the right policies are put in place. Thank you, Dominique. And our final question will take us back into our rich Caribbean, our culture, our plurality. And I want to invite Miriam and you again, Dominique, to comment briefly on this, that given the plurality, cultural and particularly linguistic diversity of the Caribbean, how feasible would it be to build networks of institutions and researchers interested in sustainable development and providing opportunities for cooperation in its various fields? So the question is, how feasible for networking and associating? Miriam, you first.
Thank you very much for the question. I just want to to say how much I agree with what has been said before. In fact, the Erasmus, when we're talking about the Caribbean mobility, students, for example, here in Martinique, we have many European students from Germany in particular coming. That's our most students from Europe are from Germany. And our president here at Université des Antilles is really putting a lot of energy in building this, what he calls Erasmus Caribe, which is the Erasmus Caribbean that would allow us to sustain mobility across the region. And in fact, when Dr. Luz speaks about sustainability, it's important because we did have a project that worked well for 5 years, but the funding stopped. So I believe that it's very frustrating for students from the Caribbean who were actually used to this mobility, and the program has stopped because we don't have, the funding was only for a limited amount of time. So building something sustainable takes time, and collaboration takes time as well. And that's why it's important that we would make sure that the consortiums of universities across the region would really join their forces, because it's very political. It is very political. At Universities Caribbean, based on the leadership, sometimes it changes. Like some universities change presidents very often. It changes with the government. So based on the heads of the universities, when it's executive, when you have an executive meeting at Universities Caribbean, I believe that in fact within 4 years we can build projects, but then after this, if they are not sustainable, they are not lasting. So what is important now is for us to have a global vision of the reconnection of the region through academic cooperation, because in fact, the only reason why the region is fragmented is because of our common collective, common colonial history. And it's also a process of repertory justice for us to allow our students to learn languages and to be able to reconnect what has been historically fragmented. So this is the role of universities, to give opportunities to students through different projects. And I want to mention that specifically, I like to give examples of projects to be pragmatic. In fact, the Erasmus, with my team here at Université des Antilles, we have identified the Erasmus 171, which allows us to build a project not only with European universities, but also with universities from the region. So we have written a proposal for this Erasmus 171 based on two strategic areas for the region. The first one is renewable energies, and the second is cultural and creative industries, because what we want is to allow mobility across the regions, but through internships. So that means that students would not only go to universities, they would go to businesses across the region. So this is a project that involves not only universities, but also the chambers of commerce of the Caribbean region, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Jamaica, involving the University of the West Indies, as well as the University of Pucamaima in Santo Domingo. Of course, I built this with some of the members of Universities Caribbean, because in fact, it makes it easier to build projects with members that you already collaborate with. So, and to finish, I just want to say that we believe at Universities Caribbean, we believe in the South-South collaboration. And this is why we also collaborate with the organizations of African universities, organization of Indian universities, because this is also our diaspora's across the region. So we do work in collaboration with them. And just a point of quick humor regarding IA. My students, I mean, I believe that in fact it's important that IA would not replace people, but definitely people need to know how to use IA. And my students have tested IA. I've asked them to test IA regarding Caribbean studies, and ChatGPT is not very good at Caribbean studies. It is actually very confused between Césaire and Fanon, and so really I believe we still have room in terms of Caribbean history and knowledge regarding IA. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Well, reassuring, but we still have to live with it. So we need to know about it. Yes, thank you so much. I will invite Dominique with a few words, but I noticed that we have been joined by a few folk, and I welcome them. I see Roberto, Richard, and there was another name earlier on, I think Montserrat. Welcome. In case you didn't hear, we invite you, anyone with questions or comments, so please enter it into chat. There is space for that. And if you wish to intervene, you please say as well, and we will invite you to make your comments. Right. So Dominique, a few words from you from the perspective of what you do in terms of this particular question.
Well, thank you. The problem of an Erasmus is really important for the Caribbean, and to have a possibility of mobility of the student throughout the Caribbean. Right now, we have more mobility north, south, or south now than inside the Caribbean. In the topic, we talk about the plurality and the problem, the linguistic problem in country like Haiti is a huge problem, because it's not just the problem of the French versus Spanish or English. Haiti is most of the people are in Creole. So that's something very important, but there was a lot of challenge. First challenge, we have the problem of linguistic problem, but that can be resumed. But secondly, we have an external problem that is the difficulty to find the mobility inside the Caribbean. I know that for other countries that's easy, but from Haiti to have the mobility of students, we need to deal with the administrative problem of visa, and it's not so easy to resolve. Right now, there was another problem. When you talk about Erasmus, for instance, we talk about having a student from one country to another. That depends on the situation of the country. I'm afraid that to be specific, when you have a country where you have the problem of instability or the political problem that is currently the problem of Haiti, but can be the problem in the future, that can totally obliterate the Erasmus program, because that's supposed to have not just people going from one country to another, but an exchange of students. So that's the point I wanted to bring there.
Yes, definitely so. The Caribbean has to take on this lobby a lot more seriously and be more involved. But it's interesting to hear or listen to the awareness, because that is step number one. And then I was glad to hear Miriam speak about what is actually obtaining. So we just have to make sure we press on with this. I think it's an excellent way for students, to be aware of the rest of the world. Right. So Alison has been noting. I'm not sure, Ali, how you wish to present very quickly, the highlights. But while she's getting herself in order, I will welcome Naum Charles also, I see, who's with us. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Alison Fung, who has been integral to the development of the University of the West Indies, known by all. She has served as an administrator of the University of the West Indies for 25 years, 17 of them in the office of the Vice Chancellor. So she's been attending several Vice Chancellors, including Professor Nigel Harris, who's accompanying us, who was the previous Vice Chancellor, sorry. Before then, she worked at the CARICOM Secretariat in Georgetown, Guyana, where she developed a passion for regionalism, and that is indeed true. Alison is the focal point for anything you want to know regarding CARICOM, and I take full advantage of that opportunity. One of her current responsibilities is managing the interface between the UWI and CARICOM institutions, and her doctorate is in educational leadership with a focus on the higher education sector. So you can understand again why Alison is here with us. I think she has a significant role to play in all of the issues that we've been addressing today, and hopefully will be converted shortly into strategic action for the welfare of the Caribbean. So Alison?
Thanks for that, Annette. Now I'm going to share my screen. So if you give me just a second, and I hope I have been able to capture the richness of the discussion that we've had today.
Yes,
Now,
thank you.
let me make sure that you are seeing
Yes.
my presentation screen. What are you seeing?
Priorities for the next 5 years.
Okay, we need to go to the top, and I need to put that into presentation view. This is when things get a little complicated. Present. Okay. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
All righty. Well, this just essentially captures the objectives of as you set them out at the beginning, and I will not go through these. And in essence, looking at, I think we've identified today some of the key challenges that Caribbean HEIs are facing. Limited financial resources is, of course, a significant one. They're very in cultural context, and I listened to very carefully to what Dominique highlighted, the whole issue of how the Haitian populace really looks at things like the earthquakes, fatalism. It was very interesting, this is meant to happen, and so on, that sort of fatalism, and how therefore they view developing solutions. Other challenges would include things like the technological infrastructure, and we've also discussed the importance of the digital transformation that is taking place globally for Caribbean HEIs, and of course climate change as an existential threat to the Caribbean, and how we as Caribbean HEIs address that challenge going forward. I was very proud to hear from our student leader, Omalora, and very proud of my institution that to know that in terms of involving the youth, that yes, they are the core, they are our core business, and involved in every aspect of governance of this institution. And I was very also proud to hear Omalora refer to the sorts of policies that the University of the West Indies is adopting in order to ensure that there is equity and that diversity is fully embraced. And of course, the whole thing of the UWI also engaging with the United Nations system to ensure that we are recognized as an SDG institution. And Patrick, I hope I'm not going too quickly for you. But anyway, but we identified some best practices that are already happening across the university system, and I think the Caribbean university system, I would like to say. And I think that Dominique also highlighted the need to include our communities, our stakeholders. And it's not just the governments and not just the students and staff, but it's also the communities in which universities are embedded. And that best practice of the response monitoring of seismic activity is an important one. And I know too that the UWI also engages with its communities, certainly the Mona campus and its engagement with the Augustown community, the Pepin community, that way of bringing in the actual communities in which we are embedded. That I think is a best practice for any higher education institution, whatever level, whatever area that you're involved in. The other thing is something that Liz also mentioned, ensuring that we institutionalize and sustain projects. Too often there are wonderful examples, wonderful things that happen, or we get funding and then it dries up. But we have to ensure that we build in, and this we will look at too as we go forward as something to focus on priorities for HEIs. And again, too, I'm very proud of the climate change advocacy that the UWI has been engaged in, and that has evolved into the university-wide JICSERD, as we call it, the Global Institute for Climate and Strategic something. It's a long name, but nonetheless, we have institutionalized how we address climate change projects across the institution. And of course, Liz also mentioned what is now called the ISDJ, the International School for Development Justice. And this is something that came out of Liz, and I know that project with Pimandu was probably something that evolved along the way into the ISDJ, and I'm very proud of this as well as a best practice. And then, of course, the importance of networking, and Liz as well as Miriam have spoken to this, the engagement in university consortia and consortia generally, partnerships in the broader sense that we can make it. Some of the recommendations that have evolved out of this discussion was strengthening education systems, and I speak very broadly here. And of course, the changing demand for skills, and Liz highlighted this in particular, and the need for better collaboration between HEIs, and this is the tertiary system generally, post-secondary, and of course, industry and government. And this is, of course, to access things like internships are so critical in making sure that our students have the required soft skills, are just as important as the book knowledge, as we in the Caribbean like to say. You have book knowledge, but the common sense is something that is really important. But of course, the soft skills that are so critical to making rounded students. And if I may say too, the University of the West Indies in 2007 articulated what it described as the ideal UWI graduate, and skills such as critical thinking, the need for an appreciation for the regional context and the world at large, the need to be IT literate, and that I thought was a very good articulation of the type of graduate that not just the UW, but we should all have coming out of the tertiary education system. And of course, the need for the tech box skills. I do believe that we don't value the tech box skills enough, but I am very pleased to see that movement is growing and is gaining the attention, and of course, with the sort of skills that are needed. Now we talk about not just a degree in a specific area, but maybe the need for those other skills. So tech box is going to be critical going forward. And of course, there's need for better articulation across education systems, and that's within country, across the secondary education system, as well as the tertiary education system, and not just within country, but across borders, to ensure that our students have the sort of mobility that we're looking for. We have global citizens. And when I look at the internationalization slide that I have, I mean, that becomes critical as well. So there's need for better articulation. And I know I must, a former Vice Chancellor Harris is on the call, that I will recall too, that in 2010, a presentation that he did to the Council for Human and Social Development on a higher education system for the Caribbean, and how we could articulate across the region, looking at the transfer of credits. And this was between secondary as well as the tertiary, the post-secondary system. And that is still evolving, Vice Chancellor Emeritus. We hope that we will get to that point at some stage in our lifetimes, certainly in Omalora's. How are we doing with respect to sourcing funding? Again, to networking and partnerships are going to be critical. With regard to digital transformation, one of the challenges is, of course, the issue of technologies, the infrastructure that to support that. And again, too, Omalora highlighted the role of the UW, or what the UWI is doing here, the embrace of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and virtual augmented reality. But how we address access to that technology is going to be critical. While the telecommunication companies are partnering with the education system, there is much more to be done. And yes, so Laura did say that UE was on its way. But and also to reiterate that we may not be quite on top of it, but all universities, we're not alone. All universities globally are dealing with this. And Liz pointed to us in the direction of Sandals University, that how Sandals is embracing that the use of technologies in developing content. So we're all going to have to get with it. And I'm very pleased to see that UE5 Islands will be hosting a conference on AI early in 2024, and that the governments are also being made aware of how the universities are transitioning to this environment, and that they need to get with the program. Internationalization is critical. And yes, even with all the global tensions that we are facing, we are still one world. And I loved how Omalora put it. She said that the world is evolving as a community. And yes, Omalora, we are. It's a small world sometimes, but it's our world, and we need to do whatever we can to preserve it. And the only way we can actually do this is as you say it too, that all institutions should see themselves as global institutions, and we're developing global citizens. And another important strategy that we will have to focus on is how we offer international students the opportunity to see the Caribbean. It's not just one country, and we are very different in the Caribbean. So how we develop those programs, yes, it will be important. It's not just bringing students in, it's also sending our students out via the Erasmus program. And I know Dominique has said much about this, as well as Miriam, and the importance of that program to have European students come into and to facilitate our students going as well. But we can do much more to develop those programs and to make them the character of those programs much more fulsome, and so that our Caribbean is on show. Role of networks, yes, going forward, we cannot underestimate or what should I say, underscore the importance of university consortia. This is how we learn about each other and how we can develop strength. There is strength in numbers. So going forward, this is something that we need to encourage. Miriam also talked about the need to develop a global vision. And yes, we're not just, we can't just see ourselves as just the Caribbean. We are part of this important evolving global community. And again, to our networks will be important in providing our students, all students who come to us with the opportunity to be global citizens. The mobility of our students is going to be critical going forward. And another important strategy will be engaging with businesses, because businesses are themselves becoming very international, very global, so that our students also need to appreciate their role in those businesses. What are our priorities for the next 5 years? I don't believe I may have captured all of these as fulsomely, but I'm sure that in a post session report, this will be done in a much more extended way. But we need to have that collaboration among HEIs, as well as with our stakeholders, with the industry and with governments and our communities as well. This was also highlighted in the best practice that was shared by Dominique. So that engagement with stakeholders is going to be critical, ongoing. We need to build it and we need to foster it. Technology, we can't get away from it. So it is going to be a priority, not just improving access to technologies, and this again to I listened very carefully to Dominique, and the digital divide is real, ensuring that there's a fallacy that everybody has access to technology. That is so wrong. And it exists within the Caribbean in a very real way. So that is something that we need to prioritize going forward. And something that we've also highlighted is the whole notion of training the trainers. Educators in every shape, form, and fashion have also to be familiar with the technology going forward, as they also help to build their students in that regard. And again, too, strengthening our university consortia. Universities Caribbean is an excellent example of a consortium that straddles languages, countries, and it is something to be encouraged. There are others, and I know when I look at Caribbean regional integration too, there are so many blocks that the Caribbean, countries of the Caribbean are involved in, and similarly with our institutions, you're all involved in various consortia. How we advocate for our region and for our own vision for how we see ourselves as Caribbean HEIs going forward is going to be critical. So our voice must be heard loudly and clearly, and in a very united way going forward. And so I hope I've captured most of what we have discussed this morning.
Well, I let the panelists tell you, but for me, all I can say is I'm very happy you're part of this team, because you've done a lot of the work here. You know, this can go straight into Kairós and to be captured in the output. I see persons have arrived. There's Beverly Shirley, whom I haven't seen for a long time, and my good friend Juan Jose, a member of Kairós, has joined us here too. I know it's a busy time for Kairós Educación, so I'm very appreciative of the accompaniment by the colleagues, as I am with all of you who have. You couldn't have said it better. All that you said, you couldn't have said it better. And I give Patrick the opportunity to have his word, perhaps not today, but certainly in the future, because he will be very critical to the collaboration process in AI, AR, and VR, and so on. So, no, I don't see any message in the chat, but I think it's because Patrick has monopolized it with the Spanish, for which I'm very grateful. This is tremendous. That in itself is an achievement, what he has done here today. And he has been so solid in all of his support. So thank you, Patrick. But is there anyone in the audience who would wish to comment? Could you just indicate, raise of hand, or type a message? While you're deciding, is there anyone among you panelists? I know you've really laid it out very nicely, but is there any afterthought that you might wish to bring now? We've got a few minutes if you wish. You can also congratulate Alison in the tremendous work she did in really listening and being able to extract so quickly. But then, of course, she's been with CARICOM and the UWI. Those are the kind of people we produce, right? Right, Miriam?
Yes, definitely. I want to congratulate Alison. In fact, it was very concise, and you have managed to capture the conversation, and I think it will be very helpful also for the document that Kairós will have to put together for the CRES +5. And as a coordinator of the discussion for the theme number 9, I know that it's very difficult to summarize such a rich discussion and also conceptualize and make sure that you see the perspectives as well. So definitely, thank you so much. And I look forward to having access to this document. And if you allow me to say just a few words to conclude for myself, I mean, as Vice President Université des Antilles for International Relations, as well as on behalf of the consortium of Caribbean universities. I just want to say that I think that we all agree on the necessity for us to transform higher education through collaborative path, but also innovative path that would serve the regional development, and that would also be very meaningful to our youth, because what they really need is the means to develop their employability across the region. So I believe that the work that universities are doing at the moment is fundamental in advancing the future of the next generations, the future leaders of the Caribbean region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I don't see any hands. Is there anyone wishing to, any other comment? If not, you see, Alison, you did too good a job. Nobody has to think anything else. It's all there. Well, if it's left to me, I just wish to communicate how happy I am that we met. I think what the exchange was very rich. There was
Ana
some
Lucia
that,
quiere hablar.
Ana
oh,
Lucia.
who wishes to speak?
Ana Lucia.
Ana Lúcia.
Ana Lucia.
Lucia.
I didn't see. Ah, right. Okay. Of course. Of course.
No,
Ana
I
Lucia.
had written in the chat.
Ah,
Thanks,
wait.
Annette.
Oh,
That
I've not.
it's been a very good panel.
Ah,
I want to thank all of the panelists. I also want to say that Annette was marvelous as a conductor of the forum. Alison and Patrick, thank you very much. I think everyone did a great job. To me, it was extremely interesting to have this inside view from the Caribbean. And I think all of these contributions will be very useful for our text.
yes.
And I hope to see you all here in Brazil in March during the CREST +5. And thanks for your very, very profound and lucid cooperation. Thanks.
Excellent. So, folks, we have the official invitation. It is Ana Lucia who speaks for this team alongside Telemaco, and Telemaco is there. He cannot say no, right? You've got that invitation to be there to present as you have presented there today. Yes? Telemaco, can I insist that you say...
I want to say, give my congratulations all the panelists and you for your marvelous job that you have done. I think it has been really excellent. I cannot say excellent forum with a very important contribution, very deep analysis, very good vision, and of all panelists. And of course, yes, you have done marvelous work. But Judith also want to say something. He has maybe, but I am very happy. My English is not very good, but anyway, I am here and I'm very happy to hear all of you and to see all of you. And I am very happy of the quality of this panel. I have to say that in the panel that with wide discussion of what we have had until now, I'm sure about that. All have been very good, but this we have had very good discussion and very good conduction of this panel. Congratulations, all of you. I'm very happy to see all of you.
Thank you, Telemaco. That's your comments are they're wonderful in terms, because I know you always speak the truth. And I think what you have seen today is the awareness and commitment that we have here in the Caribbean. And indeed, there's a much collaboration that's taking place right now. I continue, even though I've retired, I continue pushing joint projects, for example, with the Dominican Republic and the UWI in the areas of Sargassum, that's a current one, and so on. And certainly in terms of mobility, internationalization has always been important for us. But I have to agree with you that the colleagues or panelists have been most gracious, most informative, and they were so willing to be part of this. So I thank them all for pulling this forward, and I know that we'll meet again in a similar forum. I hope I'm not overlooking anyone else. No, no one else wishes to say anything.
There's a hand up on it from Judy. Is that?
There you go. I'm not seeing. Yeah, Judith, if you have your hand up, please go ahead.
Yes, sorry. I
Yes.
have to thank everyone for these opportunities to be part of this group, Kairós. UAH is very, very, very glad to be there. And I have to say thank you to Dr. Boisson for his intervention. Thank you for all of the panelists. And I will, let me finish in Spanish, please. I can understand everything in English. I can speak, but very, 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 very slowly. Then I prefer to speak Spanish. I mean,
Go ahead.
De verdad les quiero agradecer porque es una oportunidad que tenemos nosotros aquí en Haití de UEH poder estar parte de eso y eso nos permite ver cómo las universidades, tanto en el Caribe como en América Latina y en el mundo, están haciendo cosas que nos permiten ir de mano y venir hacia nosotros, incluirnos, es decir que sí, a pesar de todos los problemas que podemos tener aquí en Haití, sí podemos desde la UEH sacar el país adelante y ver la educación a un nivel más estándar, más internacional y hacer que nuestros chicos puedan estudiar, puedan aprender de verdad de ustedes y también que puedan también aprender de nosotros todo lo que es posible. Y creo que hubiera sido mejor, mucho mejor que mucho más personas pudieran participar a ese evento y entender ese esfuerzo que están haciendo para nuestros países y nuestros chicos. De verdad, muchas gracias. Gracias a Ana Lucía, Telémaco, a Annette y todos los panelistas. Y muchas gracias al señor Boisson, porque esa parte de la investigación que él lleva a cabo en la Universidad Estatal de Haití es sumamente importante, viendo cómo estamos en un espacio geográfico que es muy, muy, muy riesgoso. Muchísimas gracias por ese momento. Gracias.
Well, thank you very much, Judith. That's a reflection that we're really one Caribbean. I'm sure there's no need for interpretation. Everyone understood it. But just in case, Judith has been very active on behalf of the State University of Haiti, generally, and in particular with recently completed projects between Kairós and the University of Girona, because the association is international and Spain is a very vibrant member. And she speaks about a training program whereby students and teachers from the State University had the opportunity to go to the University of Girona for a joint program with Uniminuto from Colombia as well. So as you can see, is cooperation working, and Kairós Educación has been very instrumental in that. She wishes that more people could, or others could participate in similar programs because they are so beneficial to students, and Haiti is grateful. She thanked Dominique for the good work he has been doing in climate change, natural hazards for that university and the country. And of course, she thanks the panelists and of course, Kairós. Is there a hand that I'm missing? No.
I think that Annette has been cut off.
Yes, she's.
Has she? So maybe she was,
Her camera is off.
camera is off. I don't know what happened. She
Okay,
was
now
just,
since we
was just
close
about
the
to
forum,
conclude.
once again,
Yeah.
thank you very much and congratulations all of you. Thank you, and we are going to send the record of this forum for all of you. That is very important to have it, and of course all the documents that Kairós is going to elaborate from all the forum that we're going to make it, but particularly for this forum, we are going to send you this the record of the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Goodbye.
Good to see you, Miriam. Good to see
Thank
you
you.
again.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.